Thank you so much all for being here. Welcome to the Metaverse webinar series of HealthTech Portugal. My name is Luis Bravo Martins. I'm here with Daniil, and this is the first episode of this webinar series. So thank you very much for being present. Um, our purpose with this series is to provide more visibility to XR and immersive technologies in healthcare situations. The whole purpose is to create an awareness on the amount of cases and the quantity of cases that already are running and that already count on immersive technologies to bring benefits to patients all over the world. In that sense, today we have you, Danielle. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for taking the time to share a bit more about your journey. I'm really looking forward to this discussion, and I'll start by passing on to you the power of presentation, so of presenter, so you can just do a quick intro then on your really impactful platform and
Mhm.
also, well, your journey into immersive tech. Again, thank you so much, Daniel.
Thank you, Luis. So happy to meet everyone. It's good to be here. It's good to be like a first presenter of this wonderful series. So yeah, as Luis mentioned, my name is Daniel, and I'm one of the co-founders of the platform, which is called Psytech VR, where Psy stands for psychology, tech stands for technology, and VR is in the basis. So it's in the middle. So this is something we're doing. So speaking of my background, for the last 6 years, I've been intensively involved in development of various VR system. And for the last 4 years, together with my co-founder Peter, we are working on Psytech VR, which is now became a profitable company. So it's a startup which became a profitable company. We have about 4,000 users. We have multiple scenarios for the therapy, which we built in the virtual reality. So today we're going to be speaking about the VR. And interesting thing is that I'm not a psychologist myself. I'm not a psychotherapist. My background is in IT and, funny enough, in finance. But for the last 4 years, I must be honest with you, I had conversation with over 1,000 of psychologists from all over the world. I'm now joking that I have friends from US, Europe, and UK and Middle East and all over the world now. So having such experience and having such knowledge, let me introduce you what we do. We'll quickly skim through a presentation. I hope you can see it. I'm going to be explaining you something about the VR, which you 100% didn't know before. And we'll talk about how the VR became a power of therapy. And like we'll try to learn more today. I'm sure you'll find it helpful. So I just want to start with a few things. We'll just skip the agenda. We'll jump straight to the point that in psychology, so there is one modality which is called cognitive behavioral therapy. People call it CBT, and like Dr. Aaron Beck coined it back to 1960s. So it was the last century. But not so many people know that the VR was developed pretty much the same years. So that was like a first VR headset, and like take a look at the first picture. I find it funny enough because nowadays I'm holding this VR headset. Sorry, I hope you can see it. So like from the whole room of VR, it became just a very portable device with a very accessible price.
Yeah,
Just an uh-huh.
that photo down there, it was so crazy because they had like these huge cables that occupied like the whole half of a whole room. So just cables getting out
Right.
of that person. So just trying to understand that ended up in being like such a small headset. It's amazing.
and and cables, and it was heavy. It didn't have such a portable hand pieces which we call controllers. We'll learn about it, but yeah, the first technology modules was pretty heavy and was large enough. An interesting thing some people don't know, like the VR industry was developing, and something like a first system which can be applied for the therapy. So first VR therapy, or we call it VR exposure therapy system, happened around 1995. So there's a very, very well-known universities like Georgia Tech and Emory University. And back to the days, they have developed a system for VR therapy, for exposure therapy, to help soldiers with a PTSD from a Vietnam War re-experience, like relive this traumatic experiences, just to find the needed cases for the therapy. And on the left side, you can see the picture that was a screenshot taken of the system. You can see some jungles, like a helicopter flying over it, and you can see that first of all, like headsets were huge, and the graphics was very cartoonish. But you're gonna be surprised. This system has proven its efficacy. So patients with the PTSD were given with headset in the controlled environment guided by the therapist, and it really has proven its clinical efficacy. And the thing is that the graphics was cartoonish, the headset was heavy, but it really worked. Even such pictures help people to work with their PTSD and like to gain some positive things out of this therapy. And another interesting thing which people don't know, so if you open the Google Scholar and search for VR therapy, you will find more than 400,000 articles and citations published on the subject. So what I'm trying to say, it's a very well-researched topic, and are like a lot of articles proving that the VR exposure therapy is effective, and it can reduce anxiety symptoms, and of course it can boost the patient's engagement with VR because it's a very new instrument, and like it looks great. The experience is very immersive. But what's this VR emotional exposure, VR exposure? So first of all, in the headset, the patient can face a very realistic experiences. Also, it's targeting our primary human senses, so we can see, we can hear, and we can feel it around, because there is emotional exposure applied by the therapist when the patient is just sitting and imagining something. But it's just about like you imagining something. With VR, you can really see it, and it's happening in a safe way. And I like this picture because like we actually, we're not creating something new. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We're just putting another part in the process, and we're just adding another part of a protocol. So emotional exposure applied by psychologists and psychotherapists traditionally, it's a very must. It's a great way to start. Next can be the VR therapy, which is safe as emotional exposure because you're still sitting in the cabinet with a doctor, but it's very immersive as in vivo therapy. So it's just another step in the middle between emotional exposure and in vivo therapy. Like something about the VR which you didn't know is that like having an really immersive VR was very expensive. Like we've been talking about the fact that the first VR therapy system appeared in 1995, and you're probably questioning yourself like, okay, so why don't we have 1,000 systems, right? So the barrier, the price was the first thing. So to have a very good system, you needed to spend a lot of money on its implementation. The graphics wasn't that good, and infrastructure. So imagine nowadays we got AI. Nowadays we got a great Wi-Fi connection. That wasn't available past days. So the technology wasn't growing that rapid. Oh, an interesting thing is like during this 20 years, there was only 5 million headsets sold until something happened. So the 2020 really present us a brand new headset, which became a national hero. So a company called Meta has introduced a headset called MetaQuest, and the MetaQuest price on the market was just $299, $399, so about like $200, and the price decreased for the technology almost 10 times. So now a private practitioner or a clinic can buy one bundle for the price of only $300, and you don't need an expensive computer. The price is very affordable. The graphics went up because it's a new technology, new GPU, new CPU. Now it's great. AI API, SDK, this magic words. So now we got a full stack technology which can apply it for VR. What I'm trying to say is that the technology is growing, and it's growing rapidly. And during this 4 years, 40 million headsets were sold, comparing to 5 million headsets during the last 20 years. And Psytech VR. We appeared in 2020. We started when the Meta company has released their headset because we found an opportunity to start offering a very accessible VR technology together with headsets. So we are the software people, we're the software guys. We don't produce headsets, but we're producing the software that can be installed on this headset. And the thing is that we are working with mental health. The slide I'm sharing with you is presented by the Lancet Global Health, and I'm shocked by this. So there is a tremendous effect on the mental health, like, of the world economy, and this is actually one of the answers why we are doing this now, because the mental health issues are growing year by year, and the needed therapy, the needed services can be provided with digital technologies like VR. Quickly introducing you to Psytech VR. So what we're actually doing, so we created a software which can help you run a VR therapy session together with a client, and or also do this in the comfort of their home. So this can be done in person or online. This can be done one-on-one or as a group therapy. We have developed a platform which have many modules, and I would like to say that this system, it's like an ecosystem. So we got a special learning management system where we got courses and guides on how to use it. So if the organization is interested to apply the VR therapy, we have a special platform with a lot of languages translated, like Portuguese, Spanish, German, and such. We have prepared the special guides and protocols together with our system, platform, and advisors. We've built an app for the VR. We have built a special companion app for the computers like Windows and Mac, so you can control the therapy. We got a special dashboard, and also we're the company who's integrating a lot of interesting AIs, and I'm going to be showing you a bit later. We cover multiple anxiety disorders. So now we're talking about the content. So what content we have for the therapy? So we cover a landscape of anxiety disorder, which includes phobias, which include addictions, the PTSD. We also have multiple things for the OCD, and we have relaxations. And these are the scenarios which the patient, the client will live and will experience inside the VR together with the patient. So whether it's driving anxiety or airplanes, or whether it's something related to health, so the therapist is giving a headset to a patient and working on this exposure therapy. Multiple things are available for anger management. We got scenarios for the PTSD, which also includes the war, other things like harassment and like something related to military and such. So we got multiple scenarios for PTSD, for OCD, and of course we got a bunch of different practices for relaxations, which can be mindfulness meditation, breathing exercises, and such. We have a lot of clients. We have about 4,000 users. We work with leading universities, and we work with leading clinics and private practices. The most common use case is when a clinic or organization, health-related organization, is applying this for psychologists and psychotherapists auditory, and they're working with the patients. We got a great team of people, a great clinical support team. So this is the Dr. Albert Caprizo, so the person who first started working with the VR system in the United States related to therapy. He's also the professor at the San Francisco University. We got Dr. Udi Oren. He's the president of the EMDR Association. So we got the EMDR modality. Dr. William Roddick and Dr. Linton Antonio, they are actively involved in the CBT part of the world. They are our CBT advisor. So the overall experience and network of our clinicians help us create such effective environments. And I mentioned something that there's a lot of studies being done on a subject, but of course you may have an idea like, okay, but did Psytech VR produce any studies? Yeah, we did studies with University of Georgia. It's a very well-known university who's like doing a lot of efforts in VR and therapy. We did studies with Sapienza University. We've done some other studies as well. So I think it's time to see how the system works. So I'm going to be sharing another screen and I'll show you some fun and very attractive content of the VR system. I think now you can see my screen and
Yes.
yeah, I'm just trying to make it full screen. Okay, I think we're good. So we'll start from here. So this is the platform, how it looks like from inside. And of course, we got a lot of different languages here, including Portuguese and like, so there's a multiple languages presented. This is the screen of a therapist. This is where the VR therapy starts. And at the same time, the patient is taking a headset and the therapist is controlling the session. So for example, we're going to start with something very simple. We'll go to relaxations. And under the relaxation, we got a couple of exercises. I'd like to show you the most simplest, but very effective. This is called breathing and traveling. So we pick a place, for example, this beautiful beach, and we click start. And just in a couple of seconds, we'll send our client to the session of breathing exercise in front of the beach. So the therapist clicks start. The therapist can choose the breathing exercise and can let the patient experience this breathing exercise in front of the beautiful beach. This is one. But interesting thing is that this is very generic. So how about you have a patient who has a very unique request for a safe place? Because like every person have a safe place, right? So let's say we have a patient whose safe place is a Japanese garden. So I'm really taking my keyboard and entering something like a Japanese garden. I'm gonna say blossom cherry tree, and I'll add something like a sunny weather, and I will specify by adding the snowy mountain on distance, like something like this. And I'll click create, and the AI takes a lead, and now the AI will generate a safe place based on our client request. We've seen some predefined scenarios for the safe place, and now we're creating a safe place based on our client need. And again, this system can be used in multiple languages, Portuguese, Spanish, so you just enter the text in the needed language and the AI can handle it. Just a couple of seconds, and we're about to experience this particular safe place. Oh, let's take a look. So this is something the person will experience in the VR. So this is a beautiful sakura Japanese garden, and of course, like some cherry blossom trees, and a view over the mountain with like snow on top. And the AI can draw it within 30 seconds, and it looks pretty real. So like the graphics is great, so the AI can handle it. So you can create safe places for your clients. You can let your client have a mindfulness meditation, or, for example, experience another form of breathing relaxation in front of the personal safe place, which helps to reduce anxiety, which helps to relax and de-stress. We save the safe place and we'll go to one of exposures. For example, as a therapist, I'm going to phobias, and let's say the therapist is going to be working with a patient who has a problem of, I know, maybe something related to driving. So I'll go to driving and I see scenarios. In psychology, it's very important to start immersing the patient gradually. So we start with something simple, and with each next exposure, we progress to a more intense form of exposure. So I'll pick the third one, which is quite intensive, and we're going to see how the phobia exposure can look like. So just in a couple of seconds, yep, we're here. We're experiencing the driving simulation in the headset, a very realistic graphics. So you can really think that going back 5-10 years ago, the patient needed to imagine it. And now, without the escape, the patient in the comfort of the chair of your office can experience the driving simulation for this exposure purposes of the therapy. This can be one exposure. On the other hand, we have multiple exposures. For example, something related to flying, where you start gradually, you start with exposure of apartment, where the client can see the luggage and some thoughts and ideas that the flight is coming soon. Next, we got the airport, we got scenarios of flying. And as I mentioned, everything is built with gradual exposure. What else can we take a look? So we can take a look at the platform, which can help you generate any exposure based on your client needs. So we're the only company offering you the tool which can help you create any exposure using the AI, just to make a tailored therapy session. Okay, so what are we looking for? So we're looking with a lot of organizations who work with veterans, and this can be a good example of something related to war and to the military conflicts. For example, let's say we're immersing the patient into the PTSD of something related to military. So we're gonna start with a peaceful exposure by saying, let's say, a peaceful and I'm gonna specify and say Middle East village. We'll just start with something simple. We're giving the AI this prompt, and the AI will generate this exposure based on the patient needs. We'll start with something basic. There's another thing I wanted to mention is that the interface of the platform is pretty simple. It's not overloaded with a lot of buttons. The therapists just have about 4 or 5 active buttons in a menu. We always have the online support presented in the Europe and in the US. And also, it will take you about 1 hour to learn how to use it. So the AI has generated us like an exposure of something related to the Middle East village. Right. This can be any country. And next, we can ask the AI to add some gradual exposure. And now, in the beginning, I'm erasing a peaceful, and I'm saying the war aftermath. And I'll also add the Middle East village. So I'll click create. And let's see how the AI will change the whole exposure just within 30 seconds. In the top right corner, you can see a few buttons, a safe place, which immediately brings the patient to the safe place. And also for those therapists who are qualified and certified in EMDR, we offer the desensitization, which you can run in front of this exposure. I believe the countdown, and okay, so take a look. The AI is showing now a different exposure of a city which was either bombed, or we think that maybe there was a military conflict there. And we can keep going. We can say a tank, we can say for like house on fire, soldiers with guns. So the AI can help you specify and create any exposure. And right after the session, within a second, you can click Save Place and send your client to relax and distress in front of the beautiful snowy mountain. So I think I'm on time. So 28 minutes. I'm ready for the Q&A, Luis. I think I'm ready to pass the microphone to you.
Thank you so much, Danielle. Thank you so much for also demonstrating the platform and showing how easy this is, especially also with the AI, the Gen AI tool. It's it's amazing what convergence can bring you. I have some questions, really cool, really quick ones, if you don't mind. So starting out with the several, I saw that you had like a lot of scenarios in there.
Right.
Being mindful that a user needs to be 13 years of age or above to use virtual reality. Do you have also scenarios for the younger users in your platform?
Right. We have multiple scenarios that can be applied for younger ages. For example, we work with schools and colleges and their mental health departments, which are applying the virtual reality for the kids starting from 9, 10 years old. And we have scenarios specifically designed for the kids, whether it's something related to cluttering, whether it's something related to animals, whether it's something related to specific phobias of night and darkness and syringes. So we have a group of scenarios which has some content for adults, for example, like blood and like something that we saw like a boar. But the other scenarios we have with special marks, which can be applied for the kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, this again, it's really enticing, and you shared that right now you already have like 4,000 users in your
Right.
platform.
Exactly.
So we're not talking. And besides that, you also have, I believe, a lot of pilots also running. So
Right.
my next question is regarding exactly the process, because most of the times people have this notion, and professionals, namely healthcare professionals, have a notion that these technologies are hard to implement, and ramping it up or ramping them up, it's hard. We understood from your presentation that it's not about substituting anything. We are
Mhm.
actually leveraging the processes that already exist with a different and a new tool. My question is, how do you approach this, and how do you can you walk us through the process that you adopt when you are implementing the
Oh,
process?
sure. Sounds good. So, just because I have this option, I'm gonna share my screen and present you one interesting page. So let's start from here. So, Psytech VR, as mentioned in my presentation, started with a learning management system on the background. The core and everything stands in the middle of our technology is a learning component. We have designed courses which can explain you on how to use the Cytec VR. This is the first thing. So we have professional courses. According to our experience, it takes about 1 hour to learn how to use the platform because, as I mentioned, it's not overloaded with different buttons. But when organization is starting trying the platform, and we actually provide a 30-day free trial, no credit card needed, a free month of trial, each organization is getting a customer support manager which answers questions, help with implementation, and again, it really takes about 60 minutes to learn how to use it. We also created a special protocol, so these are more like a technical guides, but we have developed a protocol which can explain the therapist how to apply it in the clinical settings, because there is a lot of interesting questions may pop up even in the client's mind, like, oh, why do we need to use the VR exposure rather than other services and such? So we have a special protocol with a lot of information like frequently asked questions, consent forms, and such. And during the 1 month, we'll help you start using it.
Okay. And regarding the users, do you have, I'm guessing that you might have a wide range of reactions to the usage of the VR headset. So you have
Right.
most probably users that are more open to it than others. How do you help these organizations increase their adoption on the user side?
So we have a very interesting form of engagement. We have developed a platform where the users, the therapist, can meet each other. So I'll present you something. So we have developed a platform where the therapists from all over the world can communicate, and we have a lot of different networking chats, and we are running different webinars on this platform. So we have created a special community platform so the therapists never feel alone on this community platform. There's a lot of engagement happening. And when you're getting to such a community, you feel like there are other therapists who are really applying this, who have great use cases of application. And we got a great community. And this
Yeah.
stands as a first starting point for you to explore the VR together with other colleagues from Europe, UK, or even US.
Nah, absolutely. Having a great community is really, really, really
Yeah,
important, relevant, especially when we are implementing such innovative technologies in already running environments. Yeah, it's really really important to hear about other use cases and understand what others are doing. And well, pretty much our webinar series is also trying to contribute directly to that. And meanwhile, throughout the several processes that you already had, and you had several interactions for sure with customers, and some of them were longer than others. What would you say are like the two main challenges that today, if they would like be put aside, your life would be so much easier?
Ooh, so I would say that the VR headsets became very accessible, like 299 euro, 350 euro is a very accessible price for the for organizations. But still for the end users, which we count as like individual people, the VR headset is a small investment. So my prediction is that the cost of the VR headset will go down. I don't want to say that the headset will cost you $50, but I think that the cost will drop down to 150 and or 199 euro. So the notion of home therapy sessions, like a VR telehealth sessions, will become more accessible. That's the first thing I see. And the other thing is that the I would say, so I'll explain you. So we've seen with you some of the safe places. We created a safe place of a forest. Later, we created a safe place of a Japanese garden with a view over the mountain. And currently, this is the AI which create pictures. And I've seen and I've heard a lot of questions of people asking me, "Hey, Danny, so it's a static one. It's not a video, right? It's not that animated. So how can we kind of fix it and make it more animated?" The problem is that the VR, oh sorry, the AI video industry is not ready now. So it's still very clumsy, it's still very unpredictable. So I would say that the current challenge we're trying to solve is just how to make AI generate more animated and more life experiences, but we found a solution. So I think it's just a matter of time. And in the summer, we're going to release our AI video tool.
Yeah. Yeah, regarding the first one, I actually believe that further down the road, but not so much, I believe still in this decade, we will see the telecommunication operators, the telcos, jumping into the game and most
Mm.
probably placing headsets into our homes the same way that they place set-top boxes.
All right, all
In
right.
that,
No, no, it's coming. It's coming. I want to share a fun fact with you. So we have majority of our clients are in the US, and every time the Christmas is approaching, yeah, there are some holidays, but after the Christmas, I have a large flow of therapists, and it's funny enough, but those people are coming and saying like, "Oh, we've purchased a headset for the kids. They played with it a week, and now it's a mama or papa time to take a headset and to apply it at work." So I agree. So the VR in the US for years was probably like a most sold gift. So I think like the time is coming and this will be in almost like a 30 or 50% of the households.
it was actually, again, fun fact, in the last 4 years, three times the top app on, I think, App Store after Christmas was
Mhm.
the Meta Companion app for the
Right.
headset. So yeah, and the sheer amount of headsets being sold, it's crazy. It's always north of 10 million a year, which is crazy. If for instance, we compare it with um, well, other devices like
Mhm.
consoles and all, which are most of the times like uh, half of that or even low. So yeah, it's clearly something that tells us, and a number that tells us that VR is not dead yet, and that the whole metaverse drive didn't kill the VR and the metaverse, or sorry, the VR use cases. It actually allowed the market to focus on exactly the benefits and the value that could be driven by immersive technologies. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's just great to see how your solution is coming and evolved throughout time. Also, a final question before just sharing also the topic with or the floor with everyone that wants to chime in. And please, if you do, you are more than welcome to share your questions also on the chat or also just open up your mic. But my last question to you, Danielle, is you is regarding the university. So you referred that you are working also with some universities, and I believe that you are also doing some research with them. What at this point, what is the what are you doing with them, and for how long have you been working with universities, and what kind of numbers can you share regarding the research work that you've been doing?
Uh, well, it's a very interesting question. So I think while I was presenting, the main thing was discovered that the Psytech VR can be used in the clinical settings of working with patients and running a therapy. But on the other side, we also work with universities in a few directions. So the first thing we see is that university have headsets, they have VR labs or just a couple of headsets purchased, and the platform we have can be used in psychology, psychotherapy, or mental health departments. Let's say there's a lecturer or a person running seminars, a professor or just a teacher. So showing the students who are going to have a profession of a future psychologist, psychotherapist, such system would be very beneficial. So this can be used in classes for education. That's the one thing. So students can take headsets and experience it. On the other hand, almost every modern education institution have a psychologist or at least like some wellness or mental health department where any student can request help during the day. So we also using this platform for helping students relieve stress during work, sorry, during studies and such. So the second one is therapy. And another one is studies. So in every university, there are master students, of course, there are bachelor students, there are master students, there are even students who are running a PhD programs. And we provide such students with a free access to Psytech VR for research purposes. I'll give you a funny story. So a year ago, oh, sorry, like almost 2 years ago, one guy from the Sapienza University has contacted me, and he said he's a student. He just want to try our platform and say, no worries, like 30-day free trial. We'll give you a free access, play with it. And he's taken a free access, and next he disappeared. And like we worked with every lead, and I was questioning myself, like what may go wrong. I was trying to reach out to him with a couple of follow-ups, and he didn't answer me. And I was like, okay, maybe next time, so technical issues or something. And next he reached out to me after like 6 months with a paper, with a research paper published in a scientific journal, and he said, hey, I'm a PhD student. I did the work using your platform during a month, tried multiple things like biosensors and such. And here's a work. I mentioned you in the acknowledgement part. So thank you for your work. I did it, like I did a study. And I was like, wow. So he disappeared and we provided him with a free access. But at the end of the day, he contacted me about the study. So we're providing the access for studies and we provide all the needed support for the studies.
Great. Also great to know that you are open to those kind of partnerships.
Sure.
Meanwhile, we got some questions in. Actually, the first one from Patricia is a bit aligned with what you just shared, but I'm going to pose it nonetheless. You were just sharing so regarding the results you had and that quick story. So she asks, what mental health conditions have shown the most promising results using our platform, and can you give us a use case example? And I ask you to be, if you can, yet another use case that could be more or outside of the examples that we already approached.
Mhm.
So you talked about, you just shared that story. So any others?
Right.
It seems like you have so many.
Right. So let's start from here. So speaking of, let me take one step back. So what modalities we provide you with? We provide you with an access to the tools which can be applied in the cognitive behavioral therapy, in the CBT, in the DBT. We also provide you a tool which can be done and applied for rational emotional behavioral therapy, most usually applied for anger management. We also have mindfulness meditation as one of modalities. And we have EMDR, which stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. This is a quite a modern tool and thing which can be applied for trauma, and actually not only trauma, but also for the pain management. So these are the modalities we work with. And these modalities can help you work with various forms of anxiety, which include phobias, divided into agoraphobia, the phobia of like spaces, whether it's open spaces or enclosed spaces. Also social anxieties, such as public speaking, bullying, being like for the people who has antisocial patterns of behavior. And this can be also applied for specific phobias. There is a wide range of them, starting from the heights, flights, driving, syringes, and such. And this can be applied for OCD, of contamination, those people who are checkers, those people who are afraid of uh, some different thoughts, like, oh, there is a knife and I'm afraid of being hit by this knife, and such some thoughts. And this can be applied for PTSD, not only military, but related to other aspects. This can be applied for addictions and for the anger. Also, despite the fact we work with anxieties, we work with depression and stress. We got a bunch of different relaxation practices which can be applied for depression and stress. We have fulfilled a few requests, actually, with a few education institutions in the US of applying our AI for schizophrenia and such. So I don't want to say that now it's a working use case, because we're gonna have a study of it. But at the current moment, anxiety, depression, and stress, these are our main things we deal with. And I also see the second question. So the patient information is very important. So let me say that we don't collect, transmit, or analyze any personal information. So we're GDPR and HIPAA compliant. So all of the data is anonymized. We're not using real names. We don't give you an option to create a real name. So we're using user identification numbers of each user. We're even not using like uh, some like organizational emails. We're most usually using the Gmails and some anonymized, so just to be compliant with all the European regulations.
Very well. I also saw that you had a user dashboard or user
Uh-huh.
analytics available
Yeah.
in your interface. What kind of user analytics? And I would double up on Patricia's second question and also ask, do you know if mirroring? So mirroring is for some of you who might not know it, projecting what someone is seeing on the VR headset onto a PC or onto a screen. So do
Mhm.
you know if therapists use the mirroring option to like guide the users throughout the whole the experience?
The platform I was showing you today is a special platform which allow you to control and to see, like you mentioned, this mirroring feature. So the therapist is fully capable of controlling the headset experience from the computer. And after the session, the therapist can open the dashboard. This is how the dashboard looks like. You can create your users here. We're using the unique user identification numbers, not real names. And under each user, we can find some statistics. So we can find statistics of each session. So for example, you did a session of phobia of dogs. We have an information how much time you spend there. We have information of like what was the duration of the training, what was your stress assessment. The system can also handle the control of the biosensors, so you can
You
track
said
the
stress
pulse.
assessment.
Yeah, this is called the stress assessment. And we also can connect biosensors here to track health-related vitals like pulse, breathing, and such. And yeah, so each user has a account. Like you can create accounts, anonymized accounts, store information there. But again, it's fully anonymized.
Great. Good to hear. We have another question by Rita. So generate traction in clinical setting if you were ever required to get certification for your software.
So actually, the platform we're working with, it works with anxiety. So so you need to understand that there are two things. So there's anxiety, which is like a disorder, but there's a disease. And World Health Organization is putting clear, a very clear information on dividing the disorders and diseases about its differences. So those who work with diseases, they need to have an FDA authorization or medical device status. For those who work with disorders, they'll need to have a medical approval. And I can give you a very simple example. If you take your phone and if you go to the App Store or Google Play, you can find like a lot of different apps for the mindfulness meditation, which say that they help with stress, with disorders, right? So none of this app has the FDA. None of the app are medical device simply because they deal with disorders rather than diseases as schizophrenia and bipolar and such. So we work with disorders, and according to the current legislation and laws, we don't need to be registered as a medical device. Some of the companies can apply for being FDA authorized, but it's not a must for working with health organizations.
I understand. Vijay, meanwhile, shared this question, which I particularly appreciate because usually it's about the European Union. He asks, what are the constraints to explore the Asian continent? So I'll just also pitch in and ask, are you right now also exploring that market, and how is it turning out?
So here's the thing. So each continent, each geography need to have a very local content, because let's take an example of people who suffer from, let's say, autophobia, which means like being alone, right? So the person can experience this in the US, the person can experience this in Europe. But those people who live in the US, for instance, in New York, they have different types of apartment from the people who, for example, live in Italy, somewhere in, I know, Puglia region or something like this. So the content is a difference, right? And we handle it by applying our artificial intelligence, which can handle any environment, which can handle the creation of exposure based on one or another patient need. So we have created the AI, which can help you generate the tailored therapy sessions. And on the other side, referring to your question about the Asian region, we have a system of avatars where you can customize the avatars based on your needs. And we have avatars customization of different race, of different things related to avatars. So what I'm trying to say is that you can fully customize your exposure therapy platform for the place where you operate and where you live.
So you would say that right now the hindrance relates to having interested parties in distributing the software there or promoting it more further?
Yeah.
Okay,
So like the platform can be fully customized, including the languages, the sound. So we're using a lot of AI to handle it.
very well. Fernando also posed a question, and he's asking how can the therapist through the platform eval or continuously assess the progress of the patients.
So I shared with you the part of the dashboard where we've seen each, let's say, client and each session done. And for example, if we gather some more feedback of stress assessment, the therapist will have a graph showing like the stress assessment when on the first session from 10, let's say, to the 20th session to 5. So we get special graphs. Also, we have a lot of different questionnaires. So we have a platform for assessment where the therapist can have a tool for assessment. For example, we get multiple questionnaires and the therapist can work with the client on one or another questionnaire just before or after the session. And like this questionnaire can help you get the assessment with this automated tool and see the current score of anxiety or just related to one or another questionnaire, and later check the score, check multiple things related to the progress of the patient. So we got a special platform for assessment as well.
Perfect. We also have a question from Emmanuel asking if you are already working in the UK and if there are, yeah.
We
Is
have a
there any
few signed contracts with NHS, and you're going to be surprised. So you don't need to have any special approval. None of your mental health therapist team need to have a special specialization or certification to use this. So according to our experience of having been signed with a few NHS clinics, no, that's like a digital device, a digital software which just applied in the process of therapy and don't need a special certification or specialization.
Very well, very well. Again, Daniil, thank you very much for this. It was really great to get all of that experience that you have, and it's really important for to repeat this, because most of the times people don't realize that this didn't happen like in like 2 years. You have been working for quite some time in making the platform the best way possible, the best it can be. So kudos for that. And meanwhile, Daniil already shared his LinkedIn, so you are more than welcome also to reach out to him and continue the discussion. It was great to kick off the Metaverse webinar series here at the HealthTech Portugal with you, Daniil. Thank you so much for this, and thank you all for being here and for being a part of this first episode. We will be publishing periodically more webinars, so please stay tuned onto HealthTech Portugal social media. Meanwhile, we are also going to be publishing the recording of this webinar on the YouTube channel, and the link will also be shared on social media. So afterwards, you will be able to review any part of Daniil's presentation and of this brilliant discussion that we had. Again, thank you so much to you all for this. You have a wonderful day, and let's make immersive tech shine, and more than that, become and bring more benefits to us all in healthcare. Again, thank you so much. You have a great day.